and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new edition of Over the Line Hot Takes, baby. Here we are. And guess what? I know things probably look a little different this time. We're in a brand new studio, but not just any studio. This is high-tech, state-of-the-art. It's so fancy that I've got my own producer. That's right. My man, Tony Gump, is on the ones and twos for me. And this is what's going to be funny, is Tony has never done anything like this before. And we are all, at this point, using technology that none of us really know how it works, but we're going to find out together. We actually thought about it, and we were like, should we, test this out, practice a little bit? And we're like, nah, let's just go ahead and do it. So here we are. Tony, thank you for everything you do, and thank you for being my John Bird.
Hey, I'm here for you, man. Whatever we got to do, brother.
Speaking of which, for people that are fans of the radio show, which I would say is probably most of you, we plan on having John Bird. We plan on having a lot of different things that we're going to be doing with this, including kind of roundtable stuff. One of the big things I'm excited about is the interviews that we're going to be doing. And hopefully I've got this right. Richard Dixon is going to be our numero uno. Do I have that right, Tony?
Yeah, I think he's next in line.
He hasn't sent in a request to not do the interview yet, has he?
I think last I heard he was ready to do it. He was just kind of waiting on you.
So here's what's funny is he came up to me like I don't know, it was a month or two ago, and he's like, "Hey, Andrew, when are you going to invite me to be a guest on your podcast?" And I'm like, "I'm going to be honest, Dixon, I kind of forgot about you." I didn't forget about him existing. I just kind of forgot about, it was always an idea to have Richard Dixon as one of the guests. Like, this is not something where I was like, no, we're not going to do that. It's just the podcast thing has been such a progression that we've had to figure out. And Tony, you've been on this ride all the way through it, pretty much.
Oh,
I mean, since 2020, 2021 is when we really started getting ramped up. And we've just kind of taken it step by step to figure out what we want to do, how we want it to look. The interview thing just came up, 6-8 months ago? Maybe in the past 12 months?
Yeah. I'd say it's been going on for a little bit, but we haven't really talked about it until the past few months, six months.
Yeah, and we haven't, it's just kind of hard to do. And so we thought if we've got a brand new state-of-the-art studio, we can have in whoever we want and don't have to worry about this, that, and the other logistics. And so here it is, baby. Here it is. I'm so excited about this place, man.
This is exciting. It's a lot of room in here, and we can move things around if we need to, do special things, whatever.
Not only is it exciting to do a show in here, but I'm excited just for other people to see it. That's the part. We're gonna bring Dixon up here. We're gonna bring Leland up here, and it's gonna be a whole thing. I mean, we got cameras everywhere. I don't even know where to look. I'm just looking straight forward at the main camera and, whatever you put me on, because you've got a huge task ahead of you, Tony, in the sense of whoever's in the captain's chair over there is doing literally everything. And they have to deal with the drama queen of a podcast host.
I already know what's coming. I've been following for too long, and I listen to every show, so I'm prepared. But I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm gonna master this.
John Bird's probably got some horror stories in the sense of some of the stuff that I've put him through. But I will, and I've noted this time and time again. There is no better prepared host where I put you through the ringer in what you have to do. I'm overly prepared, and I lay things out in a way that make it easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I tell you, hey, we're going to do X, Y, and Z in this order. And then if something happens, like today, I had things in order, but I had to skip around based on some phone calls or whatever else. I've got it numbered. I got it labeled. And you're more of that kind of guy than John Bird is, because John Bird's not organized. Okay,
I like to be organized. I'm sorry.
You're even more organized than I am, so I think it's going to work out. But you're doing a fabulous job, and I appreciate that, man. It's weird doing a podcast without having to push a bunch of buttons.
I'm here. We got a country to save, dude. So
That's right.
Let's do whatever we got to do.
As a matter of fact, we're going to have a U.S. debt clock hanging up in the background so you guys can watch your country go down the drain. You can watch the time limit for when you lose everything you own.
Oh, there will be a debt clock somewhere.
And you thought today was the end of the world when all your electronic devices started going off? No. But it's coming. It's coming, cuz. Hey, real quick, let me give a shout-out to my buddies over at Wild Hair Jerky. These are my guys. They bring you this podcast each and every week, and I appreciate what they do because they make the best beef jerky on the planet. I actually had Brian always sends me super hot stuff to try. He knows that I'm a spicy kind of guy. And I try to take it easy because I will overwhelm myself by eating too much of it. But this guy is so generous, makes the best jerky on the planet. I want y'all to go to their Facebook page, Wild Hair Jerky, H-A-R-E, Wild Hair Jerky. Click the like button. Let them know that we sent you. They're just steps away from opening the doors and shipping jerky right to your house. And I want you to be there on the front steps when they open those doors to where you can get your hands on it. They have been a big proponent of the line and over the line. And so go check those guys out. Now, Tony, we've had a news day, or I guess it's a news week over the past few days that has been kind of chaotic. And the first of those have been, especially today, is the Speaker of the House. Now, in your opinion, because you keep up with this stuff like we all do,
yep.
When you got the news, because you texted me right after it happened, when you got the news that Kevin McCarthy had actually been kicked out of the Speaker's chair, were you surprised by that?
Actually, I was surprised. I thought he was going to be able to skate by like a vote right there at the end when they had like the 216, but I didn't count on those few people not voting or however that works. But I'm kind of shocked, but I'm glad that it happened. I think it's more chaos with him in there than without. I agree with you.
I'm on it, baby. I say go, kick him out. But, yeah, I was surprised, too, because, there was only really two or three or four Republicans that were talking about it. Matt Gaetz was kind of on an island by himself with that, but he was very serious. Last week when he brought it up, I'm like, oh, he ain't playing. He's actually going to bring this vote. But they're not going to do anything. They're going to bring up the vote. Nothing's going to happen. Well, once it was put into place, the vote, Democrat leadership came out and they're like, hey, we're all going to vote with Matt Gaetz. And then Republicans all of a sudden are like, oh, crap. If all the Democrats vote with Matt Gaetz, all they need is like 4 Republican votes, and they can kick this guy out. Ultimately, 7 other Republicans side with Matt Gaetz, and they boot Kevin McCarthy out. And everybody's running around with their hair on fire. And I'm like, why? What's the big deal? This is what I don't understand, is that why is the sky falling because of this? What were Republicans doing that was so special, that was so amazing, that we've railroaded everything and stopped everything from happening? They weren't doing anything. Not only that, but do any of these people sticking up for Kevin McCarthy, could they name you 1, maybe 2 things that he had done as Speaker of the House where they're like, oh, God, thank God for that guy. We would have never got that done. There's nothing. Nothing at all. Nope. Plus, my biggest thing, there's 2 things. 1, this is how government works. This is how the Founding Fathers set it up. They want them to fight. They want them going back and forth. They want them They used to shoot each other during these things. You know what I'm saying? They just have an old-fashioned duel. Maybe we need to get back to that. I'm just kidding, you two. Don't ban me. But 1, that's how government's supposed to work. That's the way it's set up. 2, it's the first time that we've seen accountability for Republicans since God knows when. I've not seen this in years. The last amount of accountability we've seen for Republicans was when Donald Trump was elected. And it's like, oh, yeah, we the people, we coming, cuz. You better get ready. But we haven't seen it since. And Kevin McCarthy getting booted out, that is a signal to those that make their way to Washington and they schmooze with the lobbyists, get their money, bow down to the lobbyists, do what they want them to do. Those days are over. That's what's broken about the political system in Washington, D.C. in the first place. So that's one thing. The speaker thing has kind of been the news story of the day. Nobody agrees with me on that front except for you guys and Leland Whaley. I don't think anybody else agrees with me on that front. You watch Fox News, you would think that Joe Biden just won the 2024 election, like they just called it. What's the big deal? Okay. Anyway, enough of that. We talked a lot about that today. The other thing I want to bring up is Donald Trump in New York City today in the civil trial, right? He's got Letitia James, New York Attorney General, and this goofy Bernie Sanders-looking judge who is obviously against Trump. He's so excited cameras are in the courtroom and that he's going to be the guy that cost Trump his livelihood and cost him the Trump organization. He's just giddy. I think I even saw some pee stains in his pants when he got up and left from behind the bench. This guy, I'll talk about him in a minute. First, let's do this. Tony, will you play me the video of Trump earlier today coming out of the courtroom?
President Donald Trump speaking now outside his courtroom in New York City. Let's watch.
Mar-a-Lago was worth $18 million, and it's worth $1.5 billion or thereabouts. But he said it was worth $18 billion. So they defrauded us because he called me a fraud. He called me a fraud, and he values Mar-a-Lago at $18 million. And you can't do that. It's worth probably 50 to 100 times more than that. And our corrupt attorney general, she's totally corrupt. She just wanted the publicity to run for governor, and then she failed running for governor. She had practically nothing in terms of vote. But she went after Trump because she was running for governor. That's the only reason. But she got the judge to value Mar-a-Lago for $18 million. When the smallest house in Palm Beach is probably worth $50 million. And this is the biggest, the best anywhere in the country. There's nothing like it. So they put it down at $18 million, and they said, I overvalued it because we had it valued at a much lower number than it's worth. And by the way, my financial documents are valued much less than my actual value, which nobody even knows. But the financial documents that I gave to the bank are much less than my actual net worth. So therefore, I gave them to the bank. They can't be a fraud because I gave them lower numbers. I'm probably one of the only people ever to seek a loan. I didn't even need the loan because you see the kind of cash I have. I didn't even need loans. Maybe you don't do a deal or two. But I have a lot of cash, a lot of everything. You know, a lot of people are very surprised at how successful this is. You saw it today with the kind of cash I have and the kind of success we've had. But I'm a private company. I was never going to reveal this kind of stuff, but now it comes out. It comes out because a corrupt attorney general sued me for fraud. And then they found out they had no case. And they have no case. And today
you get the picture. It's amazing because if you recall, one of the big fights that was happening between Donald Trump and the left was what? In the early days and then on into the administration. What was it? It was Donald Trump's taxes. Remember, he was asked during the debates, hey, you going to, release your taxes? He's like, yeah, I'll release them. When? I don't know. Whenever I feel like it. And he's like, he just kept dragging it on and on. And we all understood why he wasn't releasing his taxes, but the left felt like this was ammunition. So they kept bringing it up. And finally, it started getting leaked out. Well, some of it got leaked out. There was nothing in it. Everybody pretended in the mainstream media they had some big bombshell and they didn't even understand what they were looking at. but it slowly started leaking out. We now find out that the CIA was part of leaking Donald Trump's tax returns, which is fascinating in itself, but that's another story for another day. This right here is another attempt to get Donald Trump's financial information out into the public because they had no business putting that out there for the media, but they did it anyway. And what they've done is they're saying that he's overvalued his property. And Tony, I know you've been keeping up with this as well. He's overvalued his property in that he defrauded the banks. The banks loaned him more money than he was supposed to get, right?
Yeah, that's from what I understand, yeah. But I saw the actual values they were putting on what he had, and I guarantee it's worth way more than that.
Dude.
It's not even funny.
This is what's crazy. So they say he defrauded. Now, keep in mind, to be guilty of fraud, you have to have defrauded somebody, which means there has to be a victim. Well, who's the victim? We don't know. There is no victim. Nobody's complaining because the banks that loaned the money got paid back with interest. Everybody's happy, except for the New York Attorney General. So they say he overvalued his property, but once people started digging around and they started looking at property values, there's a vacant lot down the street from Mar-a-Lago, beachfront property, vacant, not even half the size of Mar-a-Lago, and it's worth 20 times what he valued Mar-a-Lago at. So we're supposed to believe that Mar-a-Lago is worth less than a vacant lot half the size down the street from Mar-a-Lago.
It's definitely worth more than that. It's almost like an assessed value, like for tax reasons or something. Like everything that's inside of it's worth that. Maybe the beds and all the the equipment and furniture and stuff, but the property itself's worth way more than, what was it, 18 million I'd heard?
Yeah. And the vacant lot's worth like 150 million down the street.
Right. He probably spent $18 million just in a couple years in upgrades just for the walls and the stuff,
The reason that it was valued so low was to avoid things like this. He ended up paying probably more in taxes than he had to, but still to stay out of trouble. If you're going to go after somebody for devaluing real estate, why would you go after the most famous real estate person of all time, which is Donald Trump? Because guess what? This guy has been in the game. He knows real estate better than the stupid judge. He knows real estate better than Letitia James. He's been through this, and he knows how to value your properties appropriately. It's not like Donald Trump went through life with no enemies. He was in a very cutthroat business. He had sharks surrounding him 24/7. The only difference now is those sharks that are coming after him are in government. They weren't. The government wasn't coming after him in the past because he was schmoozing up to them and they were wanting donations. But now, all of a sudden, the best real estate man in the game is all of a sudden devaluing his property. Nobody believes that. It's a sham. Letitia James knows it's a sham. The Democrats know it's a sham. So what are they hinging all this on? How do they think they can get such a bogus court case through, how they can get a conviction and take everything away from Donald Trump? Well, through the judge. The judge, who is somebody, if you pass this guy on the street, you would move to the other side of the street so he didn't ask you for change. He looks like a homeless guy. He looks like Bernie Sanders. He's got yellow teeth. And let's be honest, he looks like he broke out of a mental institution. I mean, for instance, Tony, just go ahead and show this guy. Don't play it yet. I just want people to see this guy. Look at this dude. Look at him. Is this a guy? Seriously, if you were going to walk down the street and you saw this guy, wouldn't you be like, honey, let's go over here. Let's walk this way. You would stand between your wife and this guy if he were passing by. You're like, honey, get on this side of me. I don't know about this dude.
He just looks like a socialist. Is that a thing?
He is.
Is that a label? I mean, he looks like Bernie, kind of.
So here's the kicker. This is from 2015, where he's talking about his role as a judge and how he approaches cases in his courtroom. Now, he's a civil judge, former cab driver or something stupid, Y'all aren't stupid if you drive cabs. I used to do Uber. But this guy talks about how he likes to just use his own biases and his own opinions and how he rules on things. Watch this.
Now, I'm going to say something controversial, even though I'm being taped. Juries get it wrong a lot. That's my own opinion. I do only civil trials, personal injury cases, contract disputes. But I've had situations where, like, oh my heaven's sake, how could they have thought that? Well, I have a tool that I can deal with that. It's called judgment notwithstanding the verdict. I can say there is no possible way that a reasonable jury would have reached that conclusion. And all right, am I following the law or am I making law? Okay, I'm following law. I'm an impartial referee, but it's hard to factor out my own emotions. And I have tools. Somebody can say, well, Your Honor, you have to throw out this case because it's just like another case. Well, is it just like another case? What if the defendant was wearing a red sweater instead of a blue sweater? Oh, and by the way, I worked for the Columbia Daily Spectator for a couple of weeks. What happened was I went there every day and I wrote a few stories. One I got criticized on because I wrote that some Ku Klux Klanners had murdered some people, and I was told, you can't say that. How do we know? You weren't there. Well, that was what everybody thought. But anyway, yeah, we should have absolute immunity. What if we defame somebody? That's how it usually comes up. You know, you call somebody a murderer or a heroin addict, that sort of thing, a pedophile. And if it's done in court, yeah, I think we should have absolute immunity.
Now, think about that. Think about the radical nature of a judge saying that. Saying that, yeah, if a case identical to this has been decided, you know, as a judge, you're supposed to go with that. But I could say, well, that dude was wearing something different during his crime, so it's not the same. Or this whole thing of a jury decides guilty or not guilty. Say a jury decides not guilty. He's like, well, I've technically got the power to say, you know what, I don't think that's a reasonable conclusion for the jury, so we're going to say guilty. That's the guy that's overseeing the Donald Trump case. And granted, normally we would say to ourselves, you know, there's only so far you can stretch the law. We know prosecutors, DAs, everything else, they try to stretch the law as far as they can to get a conviction, because a lot of these guys want the numbers. They want their stats up. They want to say, well, I've got, you know, X number of convictions over my career, and you know, that's why it helps them get a better position or whatever the case is. But a judge going down that route and just being out front about it. And like, hey, I don't care. I don't care about justice. I don't care about the justice system or what a jury says. So this is a nasty, nasty court case because it could cost Donald Trump his organization, Trump Tower, and most of everything that he has, which would effectively do what? If Donald Trump has all that taken away from him, there's a good chance he couldn't or wouldn't have the desire to run for president anymore. And if you want to know whether or not this case is legit, just ask yourself one question, which is, if Donald Trump were currently running for president, would he have been in that New York courtroom today? The answer is no. There would be no charges in New York or D.C. or Florida. They would not be doing anything to him legally because it would be mission accomplished. He's not running for president. All of this revolves around that. I'm actually looking at a story, and Tony, if you want to pull up Gateway Pundit, the first story they've got up there is Letitia James fumes after trial day 3. And I just want to read that to you guys because this just came out, and I guess it's kind of giving an update on what, yeah, there we go. It says, corrupt Attorney General Letitia James on Wednesday fumed after day 3 of her fraud trial against Trump. On Monday, President Trump said the judge conceded that the statute of limitations is in effect. A lawyer for Trump spoke on this, quote, based on the judge's comments at the end of the trial, it would appear that he is agreeing that all the transactions that closed prior to 2014 are now out of the case. That's a statute of limitations. If they're trying to pull something up from before 2014, they can't do it according to the law. And Trump says that's 80% of the case. Letitia James, humiliated, she accused Trump of fomenting violence and making racist remarks. She said Trump's comments were offensive. They were baseless. They were void of any fact or any evidence. What they were comments that were unfortunately fomenting violence, comments that I would describe as race baiting, comments, unfortunately, that appeals to the bottom of our humanity. Tony, how's it feel to be at the bottom of humanity?
Oh, it feels great.
You
I love
enjoying it?
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it too. It's nice.
Pay all these taxes. I love it.
It's nice. We're the deplorables. We're the bottom of humanity. So that's just where we're at now. This is where we've been for a long time, if we're being honest. But this is going to continue to go on. I am personally very excited to cover this. We've got tomorrow. What is today? Wednesday?
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
This is a Wednesday edition of Hot Takes. I forgot the name of the show.
Yeah, Hot Takes.
See, I'm in this new studio. It's got me completely thrown off. Give me a far back view. Give me the bird's eye view. Y'all see this right here? Look at this. We've got so much cool stuff coming up for you guys that I cannot even describe how excited I am, and the fact that we have moved at such breakneck speed to get this together. Tony has been numero uno, leading the charge, but we've got so much cool stuff coming up, man.
I can't wait to see sunlight again.
Yeah, Tony's going to get to go outside for the first time in a month. He's going to be so excited.
No, it's coming together, and you're doing a good job, and all the hard work behind the scenes has been paying off.
Oh, man. We'll never be able to describe the work behind the scenes and how much has been done. But for those of you that listen to this podcast, what you need to do for us is share this with your friends, your family, let them know. There's a cool podcast that looks super professional, and I think you need to watch it. It looks better than all the other podcasts on YouTube. We're the best. We're the best. The best. So we're going to have – I don't want to blow – I was going to say blow the load. Blow the lid off of what's
we have
coming
none
up.
of this in this channel. All right, yeah.
My bad. I don't want to blow the lid off what we've got coming, but we've got some very exciting things, and it's not just going to be this right here, this Over the Line podcast where I'm preaching to you all about politics. We got a lot of stuff
We'll
coming
get to
up.
have some fun. We'll get to have some people over here and play them some Madden or
Oh,
something,
my
or
God.
all the video games. We got Rock Band to look forward to.
Y'all are going to see Andrew McLean and crew streaming video games and talking politics.
Yeah.
At least as far as YouTube will let us.
We'll make sure all the characters are nice and diverse and
Right.
and spread around perfectly.
Yeah, because when we're playing Fortnite or whatever, like, Tony, you're going to have to pick the black girl because I'm going to be the white guy.
Well, yeah, you got to make sure it's all because equity and diversity is our strength.
Diversity is our strength,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
I almost forgot that. I actually have diversity training I have to do for my company that is due by October 11th. Will you help me remember that, Tony?
Yeah, I'll remember that.
You write a note.
Oh, I'm all over that. I remember when I was growing up, it was something about somebody doing the best job.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who.
Yeah,
you know.
well, it's kind of fun because if you don't watch the I shouldn't say this. Never mind. I watch all those videos and I study them, and I mean, anyway. So that's it for this edition of Over the Line Hot Takes. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Again, like, comment, share. Tell us in the comments what you think about our new setup.
Not to mention my poor producing.
This
I've never done this in my entire life.
I have because that's what's different about this. When I was doing Over the Line in the other studio, I could see exactly what it looks like. But on this one, I have no idea. But
Yeah.
we're all going to find out together, aren't we?
Oh, we're going to find out. Well, we're going to fix things so you can see what's going on.
Oh, that's perfect.
But it's kind of nice you not knowing where the
I
camera's
know.
coming.
I'm
so-
just, I'm trying to not think about it because it's weirded me out. It's getting my bad angle. I don't know. Like, give me a little side view here. Let's see.
Look to your right.
Ooh.
You're right. There you go. Right at it.
Ooh.
Now go straight. Straight
Ooh.
shot. Left side. Up. Give me that. Yep, that's the perfect angle.
Oh, I love it.
Now we're leaving on the outer.
All right. All right. We're going to get out of here. Take me to the logo intro.